Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started in just a few more seconds, waiting till 10 o'clock. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I want to start by saying welcome, and I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy out there. During this pandemic, we know there's been a major interruption in a lot of businesses, and we wanted to provide you with some resources. Today, Lisa Davis will be reviewing the information we know about the CARES Act Paycheck Protection Program and the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Before applying to either, please talk with your company lawyer or bank to see which option is best for you. In the handout section of the webinar, you will find a copy of the presentation transcripts that you can follow along with, and you will also receive SBA's press release regarding the Paycheck Protection Act. If you do not see them in the handout now, don't worry, they will also be emailed to you individually after the webinar is over. I'm just going to take a brief moment to introduce our presentation and our presenter, and then we'll get started. So Lisa Davis is a Regulatory Compliance and Community Reinvestment Act professional with experience in administrating all aspects of consumer compliance programs and Community Reinvestment Act initiatives. As co-founder and former chair of both Wayne and Oakland County CRA Bankers, she has pioneered economic development and affordable housing in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois through advocacy and collaboration. Currently, Lisa is CEO of Compliance and Community Consultants and founder of CommunityUP.org. So I'm going to hand it over to Lisa. So Lisa, you can go ahead and take it away and dive into your presentation.
Thank you, Brianna. Good morning. So I wanted to go over the understanding the SBA disaster loan assistance. The objective of this training is to encourage you to apply small business disaster relief funds using the lending products offered by the Small Business Administration. In order to accomplish this, we will briefly review the mission of the Small Business Administration and a portion of the lending tools and resources used to hold them to task. Hold on one second, So founded in 1953, the mission of the Small Business Administration is to maintain and strengthen the nation's economy by enabling the establishment and viability of small businesses and by assisting in the economic recovery of communities after disasters. So for today's purposes, we are going to review 3 different loan products that are available for small businesses to access for disaster relief. So the first one we'll look at is the COVID-19 Disaster Loan Assistance. The SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or EIDL for short, for qualified entities that are impacted by the coronavirus. The second one is Economic Injury Disaster Loan Assistance. This is a standard product offered by the SBA to help small businesses meet the working capital needs if they have been affected by natural disaster. These loans may be used to pay fixed debit, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that could have been paid if the disaster had not occurred. And then the SBA Paycheck Protection Program, which is a 7A. This is a version of a standard lending program for the purposes of providing relief in an emergency situation. So if you think you are interested in applying for any of these products now or after the tutorial, please apply as soon as possible. Contact your banker to discuss your possible options. So the first one we'll take a look at is the coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security CARES Act, which was signed into law March 27th, 2020. And a portion of the CARES Act addresses aid relief for small businesses. $350 billion has been allocated to help small businesses keep workers employed amid the pandemic and economic downturn. The Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP for short, provides 100% federal guaranteed loans to small businesses. Small business owners will be able to access these forgivable loans to maintain their payrolls during the crisis or restore their payrolls afterward, as long as they stay in compliance with the requirements of the loan guidelines. The SBA is in the process of creating these guidelines. As with any new law, the regulatory agency creates guidance for the implementation of the product, and the SBA has estimated that it may take 1 to 2 weeks to create the guidance, but they encourage everyone to register their business as soon as possible. And we're going to take a look at the registration screens shortly. Independent contractors, self-employed individuals can apply beginning April 10th. Small businesses, sole proprietors can begin applying on April 3rd. These are the guidelines that are listed when you review the CARES Act. However, on their website, it does say everyone should register as soon as possible. You can apply through any existing SBA 7A lender or through any federal insured depository institution, federally insured credit union, and farm credit system institution that is participating. Loans up to $10 million with loan limits up to 2 times the monthly average payroll for the preceding 1-year period. Make sure you are able to pull your records to document your payroll from the previous year if this is the option you plan to use. This program waives certain fees for participation in the Paycheck Protection Program, and the program is open until June 30th, 2020, but it is suggested that you apply as soon as possible. The next product we'll review is the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Application. The screens we are going to review now are the registration pages that you will need to fill out for the disaster application loan. So these are screenshots of the actual pages online on sba.gov. These are very simplified screens just to ensure that you're an eligible business for the EIDL program. Once you complete the eligibility verification screens, if the system moves you forward, you will then fill out a simple intake application. The simple intake application collects information like your name, if you own the business, what percentage do you own, if the business is a for-profit or a not-for-profit, how is the business legally structured, if there are any partners in the business, and then you would need to list their names on the registration eligibility form, your employer identification number, your home address, your business address, social security number. So very basic information just for the eligibility portion. And you get moved to that through the continue button once you check these boxes here. If it moves you forward, then you would go ahead and fill out the rest of the simple information on the eligibility form. So here's a sample of their standard small business economic injury disaster loan application. This is available throughout the year. I wanted to pull this up so that you can at least get a look at what the application looks like. These are the filing requirements for the different entities that are available to qualify for this application. It is important to review the documentation that will be required to submit to the SBA to move your application forward if, after the review of your eligibility, you are found to qualify for a loan. It is my suggestion that you should start gathering documentation while you're waiting to hear back from the SBA about your loan eligibility. So here's an application, and as you can see at the top, you basically list what type of loan you're applying for. You fill in all the information. Number 2, partnership, corporation, limited partnership, nonprofit organization, limited liability entity. You fill this out, choose which legal structure your business is in, the legal name and your EIN, the trade name if it's different from your legal name, if you have a DBA or something like that, business phone number, and then the basic information about your business. If you've had damaged property and you're filing for physical damage, then you would put that here, which address, if you have multiple addresses to your business. The names of the individuals that need to be contacted for this loan application, for loss verification inspection, information necessary to process the application if it's going to be different than you. Contact information here. When was your business established? What's the current management since? How much was the loss if you're applying for physical damage? Insurance coverage, if any, and put your insurer's name here, phone number, contact information, and then the owners. If there's more than one owner, if there's joint venture owners or there's partnerships or investors, and you have more than what's available to list on these pages, you can also add additional pages with the same information for the owners, business entity owners. And then section 18 are specific questions where you ask yes or no, answer yes or no. If you answer yes to any of these questions, you will probably need to gather those documentations. So for example, 18A says, has the business or listed owner ever been involved in a bankruptcy or insolvency proceeding? If you answer yes, it'll be good to pull up those bankruptcy papers or any papers regarding the insolvency proceeding, just so that you have those available, because when the Small Business Administration does get back to you after they review for your eligibility, the window of time that is open to submit additional documentation is 7 days. And so you really want to have all your documentation handy and ready so that you can start submitting your documentation as soon as they get back in touch with you to continue to move your loan application process forward. Some of the documentation you should gather while you're waiting to hear from the SBA about your loan eligibility is the payroll documentation for employees, 1040s with all schedules for 2017 and 18, 1040s with all schedules for 2019. If you have not filed, it's okay. Pretty much it's standard that most businesses file a little later in the year, and now the date has been pushed back. So they just want an explanation letter for why you have not filed your 2019 business taxes, and make sure that it's signed. And it could pretty much be that you haven't signed them, because, and you could talk to your tax accountant, CPA, somebody to find out, what's a good explanation letter to write in order to explain why you haven't filed your business taxes. You want to do your 2019 year-to-date profit and loss. You want to kind of have that ready. That has been something that was required. 2020 year-to-date profit and loss. Projection showing how your business was affected by COVID-19. You want to show how your business gross income is decreasing, or how the forecasted income for the business will decrease. You want to read through, and if you have physical damage, please note you will need estimates for the repairs and other supporting documentation. You want to read through thoroughly question number 18 and make sure that anything you answer yes to, again, please have the paperwork ready, explaining the situation and or showing the documentation. Now, just as a disclaimer, please note the information that I have reviewed is not an exhaustive list of information you will have to submit for your loan application. It's just my purpose to help you be more proactive, because this is going to be a very detailed process and procedure once you get through the eligibility and we have millions of people applying for these loans. And so the faster you have your paperwork ready, the more you can stay involved in the process and keep pushing your application forward. You don't want to have your application pulled out for any reason for not having the paperwork ready that's necessary to continue the process to move forward. And in addition, I'm not making any claims that you will or will not need any of the information we have covered. I'm only providing consultative information to help you be proactive to gather the documentation as much as possible about your business and financials in the case your business is eligible for any disaster loan products offered from the SBA. Please review and read through all documentation on the SBA website. There are many additional disclosures and documents that are provided for download that you may or may not need. One that I do know for sure that I did not include is the 4506. So they will pull copies, transcripts from the IRS with the 4506 to verify tax returns that are submitted. So you do want to make sure that everything matches up. And any tax returns that you do submit, 1040s with all schedules, that you have them all signed on the schedules where it's proper when you submit them to the SBA. That is the end of my presentation. I would like to open it up for question and answer segment now. If we have any questions.
Yeah, so we have received a couple questions, and I just want to touch on one that have been receiving a lot is, can you apply to both? And something that we'd like all the audience members to know is that we did present both the Paycheck Protection Program and the Injury Disaster Loan. You can apply to both, but where the clarity is not found is that if you receive both, the Paycheck Protection Program is supposed to be forgivable. It's supposed to be forgivable if you're eligible. If you receive both, that may not be forgivable anymore. So that is definitely a question you want to talk with your either your bank or your company lawyer about. What loan program is better for your company? One may be forgivable, but you may need information and income right now. So you need to really speak with your bank to figure out which one is best for you. Lisa, do you want to touch on this at all? What people are asking if they should apply to both, or do you have any guidance on this?
Well, I don't, I would think to talk to the banker about that as far as applying for both. I do know that I did my application already and I am a nonprofit. And so I'm not sure if there's a difference, but as a nonprofit, at the end of I did my eligibility requirements and I submitted that. At the end of my eligibility requirements, there was a question if I wanted to get emergency relief of $10,000 right now. And I checked yes. And so that processes that portion of that right away in order to submit $10,000 to you right away. But again, I'm not sure if that was because I'm a nonprofit or not, but once you go through the eligibility and it's only 5 screens, you'll get to that last question. So that'll get to you right away. But as a loan officer, as a former loan officer, I've not seen that you can apply for 2 loans at one time. But again, they're writing the guidance right now. They're trying to figure all that out right now. So in a couple of weeks, 1 week or 2 weeks, I would say talk to your banker and see if it's possible to apply for both, and they'll guide you in the right way, for whichever you are eligible for.
Oh, great. And then another question that we received is, can a nonprofit apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, or is that just for small businesses?
So it hasn't been made clear yet, but so the Paycheck Protection Program is a small business 7A loan, and typically in the past, those have been a little difficult for nonprofits to apply for. But I would say check with your banker because it's a 7A loan, which is a standard product, and they're tweaking it to include the guidance for the paycheck protection portion of that program. So I would say check with a banker, but you definitely can apply as a nonprofit for the economic disaster loan.
Okay, sounds good. And then another question that we had been I've been receiving some emails about was, what if you already applied to the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan? Well, this again, we're looking to gain some more clarity. But as far as we know, as of right now, if you apply to the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan before Sunday the 29th, before Sunday, March 29th, SBA will be reaching back out to you with the CARES Act. Again, a lot of things have changed in the eligibility and clarification. They want to make sure that that is the loan that you want to apply to. So they will be reaching out to you. If you have already and you're nervous, feel free to reach out to SBA and see where they are along that process. But they should be contacting you as well. And I think if we don't have any other questions, we may be able to end a little bit early. I'll keep it open for a few more minutes to see if there's any more questions that come in. I want to thank Lisa for attending and presenting this great information. We really appreciate your time and to review something that's so pertinent right now to a lot of businesses that are going through this interruption. I want to thank everyone for attending, and if I don't see any more questions, we'll stay online for a few more minutes. Feel free to email me as well. My email was banderson@easternmichiganbbb.org. I'm going to give that to you again just in case you have any more questions or want some more clarification. That's banderson@easternmichiganbbb.org. Feel free to reach out to me for any questions, and I'll keep this open for a few more minutes if anyone wants to submit a question in the chat box. But other than that, thank you all for attending and thank you for your time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation. So thank you all for attending, and just feel free to email me if you have any questions.